Welcome. I am Rosalind Shalisky, a member of the Cheyenne League of Women Voters and your host for this forum. I thank you for your interest in the primary elections in Laramie County. For more than 100 years, the League of Women Voters has been a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that works to help people to be engaged in their government, to be informed, and to vote. This forum is being recorded and will be posted to our Facebook and YouTube channel. This forum includes candidates for Senate District 7, Stephen Pappas and J.C. Manilow. Our moderator is Dr. Karen Meister-Emmerich, and she will ask questions of the candidates. Our timekeeper is Mary Keating Scott, and she will notify the candidates when 30 seconds and 15 seconds remain, and when time has ended for the response to a question. Karen, please begin.
Thank you. And let me ask you to spotlight me and the candidates, please. The race for Senate District 7 has 3 candidates in the Republican primary. Rachel Bennett was also contacted but did not respond. And so we have 2 of the candidates, J.C. Manilow and Stephen Pappas, here tonight. At each question will allow candidates a specified amount of time. But to begin, we want to ask candidates to please introduce themselves. They were asked to talk about how their personal and or professional background and experience prepared them for this position, and what elected or appointed offices they've held, and their civic and volunteer involvement, and what motivated them to run for this position. So if you would take about 2 to 3 minutes to discuss this, and I'll start with JC.
Yeah, can you hear me? Oh, okay. I'm J.C. Manilow, running for Senate District 7. I've been a resident of Cheyenne, Wyoming since 2007. I got married the same year, 2006, and been married for 15 years. Between the 2 of us, me and my wife, we have 10 children. 6 of them are in Wyoming, with two or three of them are in law enforcement, police officers, and 1 in the National Guard. And 2 are in Colorado and 2 are in Australia. I fully support law enforcement and military, in the law enforcement, military, National Guard, being my kids with the law enforcement and National Guard. I'm an animal lover. I love animals all my life, so I've been taking care of animals all my life. I have a bachelor's degree in management financial institution in De La Salle University. I have extensive background in wholesale and retail management, insurance, gas station operation, real estate, and banking. I was the vice president of a manufacturing firm in Manila before. I was an alternate delegate in the Republican caucus in 2016 and delegate in the last Republican caucus. I was appointed by Mayor Myron Orr as a committee in the Housing Community Development in 2020, and reappointed by Mayor Patrick Collins in year 2022, this year. I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus too, and currently I'm employed with Wyoming Tribune Eagle. Thank you.
Thank you, JC. Okay, Stephen, please unmute and please respond. Introduce yourself. And JC, please mute.
Hello. Am I on screen? Okay, I guess we don't see ourselves. My name is Stephen Pappas. I am a lifelong resident of Cheyenne, as were my parents, born and raised here. I have been trained as an architect ran a firm in Cheyenne, Pappas and Pappas Architects, for nearly 40 years. Also had an alternate career in the military. Had put 24 years in the Air Force. All of my service was in the Wyoming Air National Guard, where I retired from the Guard as the Assistant Adjutant General for Air. Basically, that's the position that runs the Air Guard. So had those two careers in the past. I am retired now. I have closed my firm as of 2 years ago, and am now employed only by the state as your sitting senator in District 7. I have been a senator now for this is my 8th year, and I'm looking for re-election. I have done a lot of volunteer work throughout my career. Volunteerism has been my passion. I've worked with on many committees of the chamber, Leadership Wyoming, volunteered for the Employees Board of the Guard and Reserve. I've volunteered for the Air Force Association. I've had leadership roles in all of those organizations. In the legislature, I've been on the Corporations Committee, on the Education Committee. I currently am on the Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs Committee, and on the Revenue Committee. And I am also on the Select Committee for School Facilities, and I chair that committee. Also, I sit on the as a liaison to the legislature on the State Building Commission with the 5 elected officials. I'm married, have 3 grown children and 3 grandchildren, and looking forward to hopefully another term in the Senate, as it's my passion at this moment.
Thank you. And now let's get into the questions. And the candidates did receive the questions last week. So the first question from the league is, do you support Medicaid expansion? Why or why not? And how do you think hospitals across the state would be impacted by your decision? And Stefan, we'll start with you.
The answer, well, if anybody knows my voting record, I've always voted in favor of Medicaid expansion. I don't see the pitfalls and the downfalls that many do see in it. Of course, you know, anything that comes from the federal government comes with strings, and certainly we get Medicaid dollars right now from the federal government. I do believe that especially in this last round of Medicaid expansion dollars, there was the opportunity to actually make money for the state. There were a lot of the prior restrictions were actually removed. The issue with Medicaid expansion is 2 things. Number one, a lot of folks think that we'll put many people back into Medicaid that are currently on the exchange or uninsured. Well, I don't think that's a bad position. Those folks that are uninsured are actually getting medical attention right now. They walk into our emergency rooms and they get treatment, and then our hospitals and primary care facilities have to write them off as charity care or uncompensated care. That raises our insurance rates in Wyoming, and I've been asked by a lot of companies, or I've asked a lot of companies, why don't they come to insure folks in Wyoming? They said, well, medical treatment is too expensive in Wyoming, and it's not a win-win situation for these companies. So we're reducing the competitiveness of our insurance market by not expanding Medicaid. And certainly all of the hospitals, all the physicians, and all the associations that represent them are in favor of this. Typically every organization, governmental organization, counties and cities are in favor of it.
Thank you. Your time is up. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm not seeing.
I don't know why you're not getting the screen. Mary, do you see all of us on your screen? Mary does.
I don't see Mary
JC,
at
do
all.
you see everyone on your screen?
I can see Stefan. Only Stefan. When you talk, I can see you, Karen.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only who's spotlighted that we can see.
Yeah. I didn't see
Let's see, do we
anyone.
have, let me see if all the panelists are spotlighted. We should all be spotlighted, so I'm not sure what's happening on the other screens. JC, the same question to you. Do you support Medicaid expansion? Why or why not? And how do you think hospitals across the state would be impacted by your decision?
Yes, I do support Medicaid expansion, though. A lot of my colleagues probably would disagree with me. But the thing is that I was recently endorsed by the Wyoming Right to Life, Marty Halverson's group, as one of their people that they endorse for candidacy in pro-life. The difference is I am pro-life not only on conception, on birth, but I am pro-life from start to beginning. That's why I support Medicaid expansion. And also, I think it will be good for the hospitals because it will be more profitable for them since more people would be insured by the Medicaid expansion, though. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on then to question number 2. And again, you'll each have 2 minutes. And you might try going to gallery view on your screens and see if that helps you see everyone.
I can see Mary now.
Okay. So number 2 is, what are your thoughts about changing the allocation process for liquor licenses? That's been a big deal here in Cheyenne, and I'd like to hear your responses. And JC, please start.
Okay, liquor license. I was wondering, you also in the papers though, that why was, King Super? There's a liquor store there that was closing down, and I think King Super wanted to get their liquor license, and then on the other hand, that was disapproved. On the other hand, Wyoming Downs was approved, the one in the range 2, the gambling. So is this a selective, or what's their basis of approving and not approving, though? For me, I say give it to them. If they're applying for it, then I don't see any reason why. My only thing is when you give a liquor license to someone who is applying, they should space it out. You can't put like a liquor license and then next door there's another liquor license. There should be spaced out, not only for us, but for their profitability, though, because they won't be making money if they're beside each other, though. So I was also thinking, though, if someone wants a liquor license, why don't we just have them like a novel idea, have them dressed like Western? People outside of Wyoming, they like Wyoming as the Western look. Like if you've seen the series Westworld, where everyone is dressed like Western type. I mean, it's their dream to be in the Western. So because we're the last frontier of the West. So if they agree to that, then we give it to them. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Stefan, same question. What are your thoughts about changing the allocation process for liquor licenses?
Okay, I agree that we need to change the allocation for liquor licenses. It's something that must be done. Certainly, it's important for commerce, for building our communities and growing, especially in communities like Cheyenne. We need to not discourage folks from opening establishments that do cater to folks that drink alcohol. There's certainly differences in the liquor licenses that we we have out there. You know, I've dealt with it on corporations for many years, for 4 years, and we've tweaked the laws, but frankly, we need to really do an overhaul of our liquor laws here in Wyoming. I believe that at the outset that probably we ought to at least double the allocation at this point. Now, there's an issue with the full licenses, the licenses that have the packaged liquor licenses. Folks, that over the years, our system has created a great value for these things. And so if someone has paid $150,000, or I don't even know what they're going for these days, but I know they're going for a lot, then perhaps we have to do something to protect those folks in the interim while we're adding licenses. So I do believe that we need to create additional allocations, maybe even restructure our law on how we allocate, and then we need to find a mechanism that we can actually grow into that new allocation or that new distribution of licenses.
Thank you. The next question is, how should Wyoming ensure that the state has water for current and future needs for residential, mining, commercial, industrial, recreation, and agriculture? And I believe I'll start with Stefan this time.
Okay, thank you. How many minutes do we have?
2 minutes, please.
Okay. I believe that water certainly is one of our important assets in the state. All the waters of the state are owned by the state, and we have to protect them. And certainly they're under attack by folks in other states that are also feeling water shortages. So the problem has been that in order to protect our water rights, we do have to make beneficial use and show beneficial use of those rights. And so I believe that by providing infrastructure to put our waters to use, we have a better argument on being able to maintain the historical rights we have to those waters. And certainly it's not only the right to the water and the ability to access it, but it's also the ability to keep our water safe and clean and environmentally pure. And so there's a lot of issues that we have to deal with, and certainly DEQ works a lot with those issues. And I believe that between the state engineer and DEQ, I think we can probably find ways to, number one, combat the states that are trying to take our water rights. Number two, take care of the conservation and the ability to hold on to those assets. And number three, to make sure those assets are pure and clean and are good for our citizens.
Thank you. JC, please unmute, and 2 minutes, the same question. How should Wyoming ensure the state has water for current, future needs for residential, mining, commercial, industrial, recreation, agriculture, etc.?
Yeah, this is a very crucial subject, though, because water is important for our state, though, because we are an inland state, though. So we need more planning in going into this. We should watch for overbuilding, with overbuilding infrastructures, and will have some effect on our water supply. So how about if in new housing developments, there's something called the Seriscape. Should we allow, the question is, should we allow new housing developments to have the lawns that the old houses have or should we allow them just to have a small lawn to manage? Though in Las Vegas, where I came from, they have fake grasses there. It looks nice, but it's fake grasses. It's not real grasses. So I think we should, consider that though. So that's my point there. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next question, we'll start with JC. What do you feel are the advantages and disadvantages of Wyoming issuing a virtual currency called stablecoin is the one that they were talking about it being a stable coin. So virtual currency. 2 minutes.
Okay. The stable currency, there are advantages and disadvantages. One advantage to that, it brings more businesses to the state itself, which we need, which we are wanting to get them. Some of the disadvantage of this is the ill-gotten money gains that some criminal elements might have, that might be used by these people for their end or for their benefit. So those are some of the disadvantages you see, and the advantages, of course, is it brings more businesses and more money for the state. Thank you.
Thank you. And Stefan, your comments on what do you feel are the advantages and disadvantages of Wyoming issuing virtual currency or stablecoin?
I think that there's clear advantages to issuing a stable coin. Certainly if you followed the last legislative session, Senate File 106, we passed it through the Senate and the House, and unfortunately it was unexpectedly vetoed by the governor, not over issues of the stable coin itself, but over issues in the Treasurer's office about being able to handle the additional workload. I believe that Wyoming typically is a leader in blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and to have a stable asset that's linked to cash or a treasury bill would have a much better time on the market than the private stable coins out there that we've seen. Even the private stable coins have had issues. So I think that Wyoming can be a leader in this field. I was a great supporter of it. Unfortunately, it didn't make it to the governor's signature. But if you've been following the news, there is a revival, and I certainly expect that one day Wyoming, and one day soon, Wyoming will have a stable token coin. I think that there will be tweaks in the act that we saw that will alleviate any of the concerns of the treasurer. And I've spoken to the treasurer, and he's behind it as well.
Okay, thank you. And I think this would be a good time to ask our attendees what they think about virtual currency.
Karen,
So-
I've got a poll here, and
We have a poll right here, and we
Yeah.
ask our audience. Unfortunately, the people that are the panelists are not allowed to participate. So everyone who is an attendee, we invite you to click on either yes or no to let us know your thoughts or uncertain. And we're got a little bit more to go. I think there's another couple people that could still chime in on this, and I'll give them a couple seconds to do so. And I'll end the poll, and I'll share the results with everyone. So of our attendees, 4 of the 6, or 67%, said yes, they think we should. One person, 17%, said no, and one person was uncertain of the people responding to the poll. So a lot of people are, in our audience, are also in favor of that. So let's move on then to our next question. What role should the legislature play in K-12 and higher education curriculum decisions? And Stefan, 2 minutes, and we'll start with you.
Okay. The legislature has a big role to play in K-12, higher and higher education, but especially K-12. Certainly, it's a priority of our Constitution. We spend the bulk of our budget annually on education. And as a member of the Education Committee for 4 years, and currently the chair of the Select Committee on School Facilities, and a designer in my private practice of many schools around the state, and higher education over at the University of Wyoming, I understand the value of our education system, what it can provide our youth, and the importance that it is into industry and government. Certainly, if we want to entice companies to come to Wyoming, they're looking for many things. One is a good educational system. Without a good educational system, you're not going to entice growth in Wyoming. You need livable communities, which tie to the education system, and you also need many programs that are enhanced by school facilities, extracurricular activities. So our facilities and the actual education program are paramount. And I've been always a big supporter of education and of teachers in general in the state.
Okay, well, specifically, what role do you think there should be in the curriculum?
In the curriculum itself, we are a state of local control advocates. I think the legislature ought to not be micromanaging our school districts. So there's a reason we vote for folks at the local level, and those folks are tied intricately to their communities and to their school districts. And I believe that they should have the final say in a lot of things. And I think the legislature lately has been trying to micromanage what the local community is trying to do. And so I think we need to step back as legislators, and we need to give that authority to the local folks that have been elected to represent our communities.
Okay, thank you. And JC, Stefan talked quite a bit about school facilities, so I'm going to invite you to talk about school facilities as well as the role of legislature in curriculum. So please start. And Mary, let's give him 3 minutes so that he has an opportunity to address both topics.
Yeah, my answer is just simple though, with the K-12 and below. Legislative should make sure that inappropriate things are not supported in our school. We are a conservative state, so I feel that inappropriate things should not be supported in our school with a K-12 and lower. But with a higher education, the college, I believe we can be more open with our curriculum on what to espouse, what to give them though. What was the other question though?
About facilities. Stefan talked about how the facilities are part of the legislative duties.
Oh, the facilities, the school facilities? Yeah. Is it about the structure or?
What, do you see any additional role that the legislature should take with school facilities, education in general, in addition to curriculum?
I think we should give them a free hand on I agree with Stefan on that one. We elected people to run our school, LCSD, LCCC, and the superintendent. Give them a free role on how to run things though. That's why they were elected to run it though.
Okay, and I do have one additional question for you, JC. You mentioned keep inappropriate things out of the K-12. What would you consider inappropriate at the K-12 level?
Well, I've seen some things in in pictures where they're showing like pornography, stuff like that. So, which is in the libraries. So I think that is inappropriate. We are in a conservative state, so I feel that that shouldn't be allowed. So it's all over Facebook.
Well, Facebook isn't always the best source for information.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's move on to the next question. Wyoming gets about $40 million per fiscal year from the Food Nutrition Service. A recent article in both the Casper Star and Wyoming Tribune Eagle indicated that the Wyoming Department of Education does not plan to comply with the requirements and asked the state to reject federal money for the school lunch program. How do you think the school lunch program can be funded from the state budget? And what, if anything, would need to be reduced in the budget to pay for school lunches? And JC, it's time to start with you.
Can you see me? No,
No, we
I can
can't see you.
Yeah, there's something wrong with my Zoom though.
Okay, well,
Okay,
I'll
here
let
you
you
go.
try and, did you get it fixed?
I think so.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we can see you now.
Okay. You know that question is, do we have the money to support this since the federal government we are refusing the money? So do we have the money to support it though? And the question is, the answer is I don't think so. So I'm not here to make a political grandstanding, you know. But I don't like it though when it's a federal overreach. That's what I feel about it. But I would rather find it from other sources if we could. But if we couldn't, then I would be forced to accept it because we can't. Are you willing to have school children go hungry? I'm not. So I would take it, and I don't like it, but I would just take it though because it's something for the school children. As I said, I'm a pro-lifer. I support life from conception, birth, and for all the way up to end of life. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Stefan, this is about the $40 million that would be lost for school lunches if Wyoming rejects the federal money for the school lunch program. And how do you think it could be funded? And what potentially would have to be reduced in the budget? 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you. Well, I really think that it's actually more than $40 million. My understanding it's quite a bit more than that. But it's a tough issue because we get a lot of money from the federal government, more than any other state per capita, and there's always strings attached to it, and usually strings that we don't like. The issue of cutting out school lunches, however, hits pretty much a lot of our vulnerable folks, right? The young kids, and certainly a lot of kids that rely, and the families that rely on that money to pay for the lunches. First thing I think we need to do is certainly contest it with the federal government. There are ways to do that. I believe the governor's office is actually looking into that as we speak. And if we can't get past that, then I do agree we need to do something to maintain the program without taking the money for the lunches. Where we get it, it's really going to be a difficult chore to find that money. Education still has a structural deficit that we need to overcome. Probably for this year and next year, we probably will be all right. but for the coming years, we'd have to figure out where we get that money. So other programs would have to be reduced in order to fund this. And I don't believe it would come out of the education budget. We've trimmed the education budget for a long time now, and I don't think there's too much more we can take out of it.
Thank you. And moving on to our next question. What role should the state play in facilitating charging stations for electric vehicles at locations other than on the interstate highways, and why? And we'll start with you, Stefan.
Okay, well, this is something that being on the transportation committee, we've been grappling with. The funding, most of the funding is coming from the federal government. There's a lot of funding out there now for EVs. There's the National Electrical Vehicle Infrastructure Plan, the NEVI plan. We've been looking at this in the legislature now, and there's problems with some of it, but there's also the VW settlement plan. We get there's 1.2 million out of that. The quarter charging grant, 1.25 billion. Overall, we'll get that. Some of these grants, the low or no emission bus program, the clean bus program, but right now we've really been focusing on the NEVI, and that's requiring for our corridors across the state, our transportation corridors, to put a charging station every 50 miles, which is a little problematic, and it's an 80-20 matching fund, so it's 80% federal, but we still got to come up with 20% matching funds. And the issue with that is that if you put one every 20 miles, our research shows that we will not be able to maintain funding for those going on in the future. You need 6 or 7 cars a day to pay for it. These things cost between $500,000 and $750,000 to put in, and they cost $10,000 to $20,000 a year to operate. Right now, our research says we wouldn't even get 1/3 of a car a day. So it's problematic for Wyoming because we're not going to see that traffic and that number of vehicles come across, and so the transportation committee is grappling, and as is YDOT, with this decision right now.
Thank you. And part of our question, and I'm going to come back to you after we have JC, is about putting it off the interstate. I know the grants, a lot of that goes on the interstate. So what do we do off the interstate, or what should we do? So think about that while I'm asking JC to address the question. What role should the state play in facilitating charging stations for electric vehicles at locations other than on interstate highways, and why?
State should support the EV charging, though. They should invite investors to build the infrastructure for it, though. The thing is, I agree with Stefan that the thing is there might not be enough traffic to make it profitable for them. So if that's the case, they should make sure that they have a study first before they even put up a EV charging station where there's more cars. Like in Cheyenne, there are more cars here than in other towns in Wyoming, though. So that might work. So our EV, the trend is going to multiply and multiply because there are lots of people who are using it more and more. So the thing I would like to point out, though, is the road users tax. It's very rare that, because I don't like taxes, it's very rare that I espouse taxes. But to make it fair for people who use gasoline for their cars, there's a certain tax that should be added for EV cars. Oh, are you there? I think. Hello.
We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, because right now it's the gasoline taxes. They don't pay taxes because there's no gasoline tax. So I think there should be some sort of tax on the EV car stuff. That's my thing now.
Thank you. And so, Stefan, what are your thoughts about the state's role in trying to get EVs charging off the interstates? So on the road from Rollins to Lander or whatever.
Yeah, it'll be important in the future. Certainly, right now, our studies indicate when we look at the registered EVs that are registered in our state, we're between 300 and 400 vehicles, and so and most of those people charge them at home. But we do have, tourism is our number one industry, and certainly as EVs become more prevalent. Right now, it's 3% of the nation. I was just at a conference yesterday in Salt Lake City discussing this exact topic, and there are concerns about number one, power availability if we expand as fast as we think we're going to expand, and number two, what does that do to the infrastructure in very rural states? Because to have an EV area, certainly we can put them in a lot of public locations, rest stops off the interstates, locations in towns where YDOT may have facilities. We can put them at some safe facilities, but you're going to also see them in private facilities as well. I put one in at the Toyota dealership here just a year ago. So it's going to be difficult to pay for these things, but down the line, it's going to be important for our tourism industry.
Thank you. And JC, did you want an optional additional time?
I'm okay.
Okay, thank you. I'm watching my time here, and I'm going to go to my last question for you. And JC, I'll start with you. What is your vision for Wyoming's future? Very open-ended. What is your vision?
Move forward without compromising our conservative values that we have here, though. By doing that, we grow the economy because we can only cut as much as we can. That's why instead of cutting, we have to grow the economy. During my campaign for the county commissioner, I suggested that, but this is a long term. Our airport should be turned into an international airport. Right now, it's pitiful though. What do we have here? We're not even having flights though. Either we shut it down or we make it bigger though. So how do we make it an international airport? So it's a duty-free zone. So big industries can ship in and out, and they don't have to pay their taxes right away when they ship in their merchandise though. So it's going to be a benefit for the Cheyenne itself though. So that's one thing that I believe that should be done though in the next years though.
You did make a comment that the airplanes weren't coming in and out. Well, we do have 2 flights a day in and out of Cheyenne Airport right now.
Not a lot.
So, but we do have 2. So
Yeah.
2 minutes, Stefan.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm thankful for our airport here in Cheyenne. But my vision for Wyoming is to see some sustained growth and diversification. And that's a tough nut. We've been talking about diversification for a long time, and we've been talking about growth. Some places, Cheyenne being one, really embraces growth. I'm not so sure that a lot of the rest of the state does. They typically like their lifestyle the way they are because they're not paying a lot of taxes, but they're getting a lot of benefit, and so they don't want to see people moving in. And so it's difficult in the more rural parts of the state, but we see lots of out-of-state people coming up, buying our ranches and not contributing to the state. So we have to figure out how we're going to diversify, and I think that's through growth. We all the states around us grew, this last 10 years, and certainly Wyoming didn't. We've got to figure out how to maintain our extractive industries while at the same time expanding other industries. So I applaud all the efforts that we're doing in blockchain. I applaud all the efforts we're doing in increasing agriculture. We were doing some remarkable things in agriculture these days. Tourism, it's going to need to grow as well, so we need to facilitate those as well. So I'm very optimistic that we'll get there. It'll be a slow haul for us because we have to change some mindsets of a lot of Wyomingites, but we'll do it with a strong education system, a good healthcare system, and a good lifestyle for people that are looking to escape the madness of the rest of the world.
Thank you. And now, in closing, I'm going to invite you to give a 1 to 2 minute closing about, if you're elected, what would you hope to achieve? What greatest strength would you bring to this position? How would you promote civility? And why should voters choose you? And I'll start with JC.
First thing is, I would like to continue the economic growth of our city, though. By doing so, tourism is the #1 industry, or top industry here. So we should tap it more and invite investors to come in. Be better inviting investors to come in by giving them incentive to do so. The thing I'd like to do is also to lessen the burden of the citizens. Like our house in Laramie, we have what we call the choice gas. Here in Cheyenne, we don't have that choice gas. Meaning in Laramie, our house in Laramie, we pay lesser with our power bills than in Cheyenne, though, because we have a choice. We have the choice of what power company to choose from. So this is something, if there's anyone from the city council who's running, I'd be willing to work with you on this thing, though. And my strength is I was a VP for a manufacturing firm in Manila, and I've been managing people all my life. So I'm a people-oriented person. I'm a people person. With being, I believe that to lessen, we should be more civil and not attack our people that are opposing at office. No attacking, personal attacks. Be civil to each other, though. Why choose me? I'm not part of the elite. Questions were asked. How does it feel about the gas situation? $5 per gas, and that. I drive my vehicle 100 miles a day, so I feel what the citizens feel. The price is going up. And I will be there for you most of the time when you need me. Not like I'm in DC or other parts of the state or other parts of the world. I will be there for you if you need me, though. Thank you.
Your time is up. Thank you. And Stefan.
Okay. Am I unmuted? I am. Okay. Yes, I believe that what I hope to achieve in the next 4 years is a continuation of the last 8 years that I put in, and that was hard work on a very plethora of very difficult issues, whether it's the budget, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, whether it's how to figure out how to fund our roads and highways and bridge infrastructures, how we deal with the many corporate issues that come before our state, our election laws. There's so many things that a legislator has to think about and understand. So my greatest strength is, number one, being able to understand the needs of my constituents, I'm open all the time. My cell number is published. My email is published. I am retired now from the work that I do from day to day, so I'm very much available. I do travel a bit. I do have some international commitments, and in fact, I'm talking to a international company now about relocating to Wyoming. So I bring a lot of those capabilities to the legislature, and I also do promote civility in my position. If you look at my record and the way I've practiced the position of senator in the legislature, you'll see that I've been very amiable with both sides of the aisle and with all constituents. So I believe that a proven experience will go a long way.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank both of our candidates tonight, Stephan Pappas and J.C. Manilow. I appreciate you being here. And now I am going to turn it over to Raj Shalisky.
Thank you, Karen. Voters, thank you on behalf of the Cheyenne League of Women Voters for your interest in this primary race for the Republican primary race for Senate 7. Again, this recorded forum will be posted to our Cheyenne League of Women Voters Facebook and YouTube channel. Voters can find personalized ballot and candidate information at the League's vote411.org. The primary election will be Tuesday, August 16th from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. at 7 vote centers in the county. You may also vote early or by absentee ballot. Early voting is available in the atrium of the Laramie County Governmental Complex at 308 West 20th Street from 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday through August 15th. You may register to vote or change your registration on election day or before. More information about voting in the primary election can be obtained from the Laramie County Clerk's office. Her number is 633-4242, or by visiting its website, elections.laramiecountyclerk.com. An important point to remember for this election is Wyoming law now requires you to present an ID before voting in person on election day or during early voting. An ID may be a Wyoming's driver's license or a Wyoming ID, military ID, valid U.S. passport, Wyoming student ID, driver's license from another state, or a Medicare or Medicaid card. Finally, your vote is your voice. Use it.